Hi, it's Sasha from sashahareng.com, and today I want to show you how to make chocolate brownies, yummy fudgy ones that are nice and moist, and the secret ingredient for that is sweet potato. So this recipe is quite okay for you to eat. You know, it doesn't have any processed sugar in it. It's for those people that are, you know, sticking to the paleo diet, for people who eat gluten-free, all those things. So it is okay to have a little chocolate brownie with your morning cuppa as a in-between, you know, breakfast and lunch. It's okay to have one in the afternoon if you like, instead, when you get those afternoon munchies, because it doesn't have any processed sugar in there and it'll actually fill you up and it's not bad for you. And it's also great for kids' lunch boxes. That's why I make it. I love putting something in my son's lunchbox that is, you know, going to give him the energy that he needs, but it is full of vitamins and minerals and not full of processed sugar. Gone are the days of buying packet stuff for kids. In my opinion, I don't do that anymore. They really are just full of air, and you're just buying a cardboard box full of air and processed sugar. There's nothing that's really worth eating in those processed food bars for children. So I prefer to make my own, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper. So I'm actually also having the rest of my coffee. Now this is the coffee that's infused with superfoods, which I explained in my last video. I think I did last week. So if you missed that, please go and check out how you can have your coffee with superfoods that are infused in there to really make your coffee a really healthy choice. And a brownie with this is absolutely yummy. So here we go. What we have in this recipe is 3 eggs, and of course free range eggs, half a cup of melted coconut oil. I don't have to melt mine here because I'm in Australia and everything is just hot, so you know, don't need to melt the oil. Quarter of a cup of maple syrup, or in this case I'm going to use coconut maple syrup, so it's coconut syrup, and it's very much like maple syrup. I use everything organic, so it's all certified organic and much better than using processed sugar. 3/4 cup of almond meal, so there's no wheat or anything that is in this recipe. A teaspoon of baking powder and 1/3 cup of cacao powder. Now I use cacao instead of cocoa because cacao has been processed differently directly from the cacao seeds, and it is cold pressed, and therefore it will have all the enzymes still in there, so it's full of iron and magnesium. So really great stuff for kids that are growing faster than you can imagine, and also good for us too. And 1 cup of cooked sweet potatoes, which I have. I normally bake them, but in this case I didn't have any pre-baked, so I've just quickly steamed them, or you can do them in the microwave, but if you're going to do vegetables, it's far better steaming them using a microwave. Okay, so first of all we're going to put the dry ingredients in one bowl, wet ingredients in the other bowl. So let's start with the wet ingredients. I'm going to put 3 eggs into a nice big bowl so that you can see what's in there. Just crack 3 eggs into that. Okay, we also need to put half a cup of melted coconut oil. So half a cup. Quite enough. I go through absolutely stacks of this coconut oil every week. I use it in everything. It's brilliant for you. Really helps you burn fat. It's a medium chain fatty acid, so something that you should be incorporating into your everyday diet. Okay, a little bit over half a cup, but I'm a bit rough with measurements. I just throw it all in basically. So there's half a cup of coconut oil, and then we need 1/4 cup of the maple syrup, or in this case coconut syrup. This is really yummy, this coconut syrup. It's made from the blossom, or from the nectar from the blossom of the coconut flower. So 1/4 cup of that, so it's nice and sweet. Okay, so I'm pouring it all into my wet mixture, and I'm just going to quickly whisk that up. Okay, the next thing we need to do is add the dry mixture to a separate bowl. So we're just going to do 3/4 cup of almond meal. Again, no wheat involved or almond, so very good for people who are gluten free. Not too fussy about exact measurements. And cacao, which I use in so many things. What do we need? About 1/3 cup of cacao. Here is my my sweet potato that I've cooked earlier. Basically, I just mashed it with a masher, but you can just chuck it in and whisk it if you like big pieces or chunky bits through your brownies. I'm not going to do that because my son has radar about foods, and if he sees something like that, he's going to be asking questions. So you can puree it too, so just put it in your Ninja or something like that if you really want to puree it. Mix a bit of water with it so it's like a puree, and then you can just pour it in, and that way your children won't know at all that there's any sweet potato in there. They'll just know that it's sweet and yummy, and they'll love them. So combine everything into your wet mixture, and then just while you're whisking, put in your dry ingredients. That cacao just smells so chocolatey and beautiful. Now it's getting to a nice consistency, so it should look like, you know, a nice fudgy looking consistency. These are so moist and yummy, and they just get popped into the oven for half an hour, and on 360 or 350 rather for the Fahrenheit people, and for Celsius people like us in Australia it's 180 degrees Celsius. Just all you need to do is just get a pan. So I am just using my old baking dish, and I just put a bit of coconut oil in the bottom of that baking dish, wipe it all around so it doesn't stick, and pop the mixture in the baking dish. Now one thing I did forget to put in is the baking powder. Now, baking powder actually makes things rise, so that's the difference between normal flour and self-raising flour. Self-raising flour actually has baking powder mixed into it, so this is a gluten-free product. You can put a teaspoon of the baking powder in there just to make it rise, or a little bit more if you like. And mix all that in. Lucky I remembered that. And then you just pour it into onto your tray or bottom of a baking dish. Doesn't really matter. Give it a good mix, and taste it. Yum, so yummy. But if it's not sweet enough, I'm making it for my son, so I've actually added a little bit more sweetener in there. Sweet for the sweet. But yeah, you know, you just make it as sweet as you like. You can add raw honey in there if you prefer to. Raw honey's full of really good things for you, so it's not a bad thing to have. Or the two syrups that I described earlier. So I'm going to pop this on the tray now. Just pour it on basically. Don't forget to grease your pan with some coconut oil. Pop it in the oven for half an hour. Get it all sort of even. And I'll see you in half an hour. and I'll take them out of the oven and show you what they look like. Okay, so they're ready. They've been in the oven for half an hour, and I'm going to get them out of the oven and just show you a couple of things that you can do with that, and we're going to have a little taste test. So they should look something like that. Now, what you can do when they're nice and hot and just freshly out of the oven, you can actually put cacao nibs in there, so little like chocolate chips, if you want to call them nibs or chocolate chips, doesn't really matter, and you can just press them in there and they melt and go into the brownies if you want that really chocolatey taste. Another thing, if you want to add a bit more interest in there, you could put anything, roast slivered almonds, or you could put pine nuts, you could put pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, any sort of nut or seed that you like. You can mix it into the mixture and bake it into the brownie mixture just for a little bit of difference, and that's something you can just experiment with and see which flavour you like best. Right, that is absolutely yum. It smells beautiful. So there we go, there's your chocolate brownies. Let's have a little taste. They're very hot. It's so moist and sweet. You're not going to want to stop at one, I can tell you. You're going to be thinking about them all the time in the fridge, calling out your name. And they're a good healthy choice with the sweet potato in there. Almond meal. It's, you know, there's nothing bad in here, and the cacao is a fabulous product to use. No processed sugars. So you know, you can eat this without feeling too guilty about your chocolate brownies. And I hope this helps. Look, I have quite a few foodie little recipe videos now, so if you want to go and check those out, please subscribe to my channel. They're all healthy foods. And just to give you some ideas of how to cook things and make things and not go without, you know, and also incorporate good healthy food into your everyday living. Leave a like or leave a comment in the box below, or if you want more information, go to sashaharang.com, and I'll see you in the next video.